Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. The insurance paperwork had to be somewhere in this desk. Melissa was at her Wednesday evening yoga class, giving me time to search. I pulled open the second drawer of Melissa's home office setup, rifling through folders labeled with her neat handwriting. Taxes 2023. Medical records. Personal thoughts. I almost passed right over that last one. Personal thoughts. Something made me pause. Maybe the clinical nature of the label, like she was documenting data rather than feeling emotions. I lifted the folder. Inside was a single printed document. Crisp white paper, laser printer quality. The title sat centered at the top in bold. My reasons. Underneath, 15 numbered points. My chest went tight. My hands, suddenly cold despite the warmth of our Lincoln Square apartment, trembled slightly as I held the page. I scanned the list, my mind struggling to process what I was reading. 1. Emotional distance. You don't share your feelings anymore. 5. Career stagnation. You've been at the same company for 6 years with no ambition to move up. 8. You don't make me feel desired. When was the last time you initiated anything? 12. I deserve better than someone who's settled for comfortable. 15. I'm staying out of fear, not love. The margins contained handwritten notes in her looping script. Discuss with Kim. Needs to hear this. Non-negotiable. I flipped the page. Behind it, stapled neatly, was a pros and cons list. The heading read, Leaving versus Staying. The pros column for leaving ran the length of the page. The cons column had 3 items. The date at the top was from 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks she'd been carrying this around, refining it, discussing it with her friend Kim. 3 weeks of normal dinners, normal conversations, normal life, while she built a case against me like some corporate lawyer preparing for litigation. I stood there in the quiet office, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound in our apartment. The initial shock gave way to hurt, then anger, then something else entirely. Something cold and crystalline. The software architect in me activated. This was a problem requiring systematic analysis. I pulled out my phone and photographed every page, making sure the margins were visible, the handwriting clear. Then I placed the document back in the folder exactly as I'd found it, straightened the drawer, and closed it with a soft click. No confrontation. Not yet. Confronting her now would be reactive, emotional, exactly what someone who'd built this kind of ammunition would expect. She wanted a crisis, wanted the drama of revelation and tears and desperate attempts to fix things. I wouldn't give her that. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stood at the window looking out at the tree-lined street. My reflection stared back at me, a 34-year-old man who'd apparently become invisible to his own wife. The gas fireplace against the far wall sat cold and unused, much like our relationship had become. She'd built a case for leaving. Fine. I'd build a case for why that would be the worst mistake of her life. Not through begging or emotional manipulation. Through becoming undeniable. The next few days were revelatory. Once you know what to look for, the patterns become obvious. Melissa's phone habits, which I'd attributed to work stress, took on new meaning. She texted constantly, always angling the screen away when I entered the room. The contact name was just Kim, but the frequency was obsessive. Every 15 minutes, sometimes more. I checked our shared calendar on Friday morning while she was in the shower. Weekly coffee meetings with Kim stretched back 2 months. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m., the Grind Cafe in Wicker Park. 90 minutes blocked off, marked as personal time. Our financial accounts were next. We'd always maintained transparency, shared access to everything. Scrolling through our bank statements, I found it. A new individual checking account in her name only, opened 6 weeks ago. Small transfers every week. 200 here, 300 there. Building an escape fund. The browser history on her laptop completed the picture. Apartment searches in Wicker Park. 1-bedroom listings, all in her price range if she went solo. Articles titled Starting Over at 30 and Reclaiming Your Independence After Marriage. She hadn't even bothered to use private browsing. I watched her across the breakfast table Saturday morning. She was scrolling through her phone, that slight smile playing at her lips. The smile she used to give me. Now it was for whoever was on the other end of those messages. What are you smiling at? I asked, keeping my tone light. She looked up, and the smile shifted into something more practiced. Oh, just Kim being ridiculous. She sent me this meme about marketing executives. Funny, I said, and returned to my coffee. She studied me for a moment, waiting for something. A follow-up question, maybe. Engagement. When I offered nothing more, I caught the flash of confusion in her eyes. Good. Let her wonder. Monday morning, I woke at 5:30. Melissa stirred but didn't fully wake as I dressed quietly and left the apartment. The East Bank Club was a 12-minute drive, an upscale gym I'd been meaning to join for months. Now I had motivation. The membership representative, a woman named Angela, smiled as I signed the paperwork. First session with a trainer is complimentary. I can set you up with Brett if you're interested. I'm interested. Brett turned out to be a former Marine with the build of someone who treated fitness like warfare. Our first session was scheduled for Wednesday. After signing up, I made another call from my car. Walsh & Associates, how may I help you? I need to schedule a consultation with Raymond Walsh. Matrimonial matters. The attorney had been recommended by a colleague 2 years ago during his divorce. I'd filed the name away, never thinking I'd need it. The earliest appointment was Tuesday at 9 a.m. I spent Monday lunch reviewing our joint accounts in detail, documenting everything. Asset lists, account numbers, beneficiary designations. I downloaded our marriage certificate, copies of shared passwords, anything that might matter. By the time I headed home at 7 p.m., later than usual, I had a comprehensive picture of our financial reality. Melissa was in the kitchen when I arrived. You're home late. Busy day? I said, setting my bag down. How was yours? Fine. Normal. She watched me, waiting for more. I poured a glass of water, checked my phone, and headed toward the bedroom. I'm going to catch up on some reading. Oh, okay. The confusion in her voice was unmistakable. Tuesday morning, Raymond Walsh's office occupied the 23rd floor of a building on South LaSalle Street. The attorney himself was 50-something, gray at the temples, with the calm demeanor of someone who'd seen every variation of marital disaster. What brings you in, Brian? He asked once we'd settled in his conference room. I slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts of the list, the bank statements, the browser history. My wife is planning to leave. I found this a few days ago. Raymond reviewed the documents without expression, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. After 5 minutes, he looked up. Has she filed anything? Mentioned separation? Not yet, but given the timeline, I'd say it's coming. What do you want to do? Protect myself, but I don't want to act guilty of anything. I haven't done anything wrong. Raymond nodded slowly. Smart. Here's what I recommend. The conversation lasted an hour. By the time I left, I had a clear action plan and a retainer agreement signed. Raymond would prepare documents, but we'd hold off on filing anything unless Melissa moved first. Wednesday morning, Brett destroyed me. Every muscle in my body screamed as he walked me through compound movements, corrected my form, pushed me past what I thought were my limits. Pain is just weakness leaving the body, he said cheerfully as I struggled through my third set of deadlifts. Pretty sure it's also muscle tissue leaving my bones, I gasped. You'll thank me in 6 weeks. That afternoon, I met Todd Brennan for coffee. Todd was a colleague at the fintech company, someone I'd always gotten along with, but never spent much time with outside work. That was changing. Good to see you, man, Todd said as we settled into a booth at Intelligentsia. You said you wanted to catch up? Yeah, I've been thinking about working on myself lately. Getting in better shape, being more intentional about life. Figured I'd reconnect with people I've been meaning to spend more time with. Todd grinned. Claire's been on me about the same thing. We should do a double gym session sometime. I'd like that. That evening, Melissa attempted to initiate our usual Wednesday dinner routine. We've been going to this Italian place in Andersonville every Wednesday for 2 years. Should I make the reservation for 7? She asked, phone in hand. Actually, I need to catch up on some work tonight. You should order whatever you want, though. She lowered the phone slowly. You're working through dinner? Just have a lot on my plate right now. Oh, a pause. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. Why? You just seem, I don't know, different lately. I looked at her directly. Different how? She fumbled for words. Just busier, I guess. More distracted. I'm focused, I said. That's all. The confusion on her face was clear as I headed to the home office. I wasn't actually working. I was creating distance, establishing a new pattern. The old Brian was predictable, available, eager to maintain routine. The new Brian had priorities that didn't revolve around her approval. Thursday brought a meeting with Patricia Vance, the financial advisor who'd managed my inheritance from my grandfather. The money had been sitting in a basic savings account, earning almost nothing. Patricia's eyes lit up when I mentioned I wanted to get more strategic. "I can set you up with an individual investment account," she said. "Better returns, more control, and since it's your inheritance, completely separate from marital assets." "Let's do it." I transferred the full amount that afternoon, updated all my beneficiary designations, and changed my retirement account to reflect my new priorities. If Melissa was building an escape fund, I was building a fortress. That evening, I updated my LinkedIn profile for the first time in 3 years. New headshot from my phone, updated job description with more action words, expanded my network. Within an hour, I had connection requests from 2 recruiters. Friday afternoon, Melissa tried planning our weekend. "Should we do brunch at Lula Cafe on Sunday? It's been forever since we went." I was reviewing a project proposal on my laptop. "I've got some things to handle this weekend. Maybe next weekend." "Things? What things?" I glanced up, kept my expression neutral. "Just personal stuff I need to take care of." "Personal stuff," she repeated. "That's vague. Is it important that you know every detail?" She blinked. "No, we usually plan weekends together. You're free to make plans. I'm just letting you know I'm not available Sunday morning." I returned to my laptop. After a moment, she walked away. I heard her pick up her phone in the bedroom, then her muffled voice as she made a call. Probably to Kim. Let them talk. The following week, the transformation accelerated. I woke every morning at 5:30, hit the gym before Melissa even stirred, and returned home energized. The early workouts became meditative, a space where I could think clearly, plan methodically. By the end of week 2, I noticed changes in the mirror. My shoulders had broadened slightly, definition appearing in my arms. Nothing dramatic, but enough that my dress shirts fit differently. I scheduled an appointment at the Boardroom, an upscale barbershop downtown, and got a clean fade that took 5 years off my face. The barber, a guy named Jordan, nodded approvingly. "You look sharp, man. Got something special coming up?" "Just trying something new. Whatever it is, it's working." At work, I volunteered for a high-visibility project I'd normally have avoided. The kind of thing that meant longer hours and more stress, but also more face time with senior leadership. My manager, Deborah, raised her eyebrows when I offered. "You sure, Brian? This one's intense." "I'm sure." "All right then. Let's make it happen." I started mentioning potential opportunities at dinner, staying vague. "Might have something interesting coming up professionally," I'd say, then change the subject before Melissa could ask questions. Her curiosity turned to concern. She started dressing differently at home, wearing outfits I'd complimented months ago. Makeup when we weren't going anywhere. She initiated physical affection more often, reaching for my hand on the couch, trying to cuddle in bed. I accepted these gestures politely, but didn't reciprocate. When she attempted intimacy, I pleaded exhaustion. "You're always tired lately," she said one night, frustration creeping into her voice. "The new workout routine is intense. My body needs recovery time." She lay back against her pillow, staring at the ceiling. I could practically hear her thoughts spinning. 3 weeks after finding the list, Todd mentioned something over lunch at Beatrix. We'd fallen into a rhythm of weekly meals, and his perspective had become valuable. "Hey, random question," Todd said between bites of his sandwich. "Does Melissa hang out with a woman named Kim Rousseau?" I set down my fork carefully. "Yeah, they're close friends." "Why?" "Claire and I saw her at a coffee shop in Wicker Park yesterday. She was with Kim and some guy. Looked pretty cozy, the 3 of them." "What kind of guy?" Todd shrugged. "Older, well-dressed. Business type. The way Kim was touching his arm, though, didn't seem like just friends." I filed that information away. That evening, while Melissa was showering, I did some research. Kim's Instagram was public, full of inspirational quotes about female empowerment and living authentically. Recent posts mentioned her new business partnership. I reverse image searched one photo and found the guy Todd described. His name was Gerald Patterson. His Facebook relationship status, married. So Kim was having an affair with a married man while counseling my wife to leave me for not being exciting enough. The hypocrisy was almost funny. I found more evidence over the following days. A receipt in Melissa's purse from an expensive lunch spot downtown on a Tuesday. She'd told me she was working from home that day. Our phone records showed 47 calls to Kim in the past month, some lasting over an hour. I was gathering data, building my case. Every piece of evidence went into an encrypted folder on my laptop. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was preparing for war. The competitor company reached out in week 4. A fintech startup that had been making waves, offering me a position as their lead architect. The salary was 40% higher than my current job. They included equity. I took the meeting. Let them wine and dine me at Gibson Steakhouse, one of those places where power brokers make deals. The CEO, a woman named Jennifer Park, laid out their vision. "We need someone who can build systems that scale," she said. "Your work at your current company has been impressive. Imagine what you could do with our resources." "I'm interested," I said. "Let me review the offer and get back to you." The formal offer letter arrived 2 days later. I didn't sign it immediately. Instead, I used it as leverage, went back to my current company, and asked for a raise and promotion. They countered. I negotiated. Suddenly, I was the guy with options. Melissa noticed everything. The new clothes I bought after a wardrobe consultation. The confidence in how I carried myself. The way colleagues deferred to me at the company holiday party. Claire Brennan cornered Melissa at that party, and I watched from across the room as they talked. Claire gestured toward me animatedly, clearly asking something. Melissa's forced smile told me everything I needed to know. Later, in the car, Melissa said, "Claire asked what your secret is. She said Todd mentioned you're like a different person." "What did you tell her?" "That you've been focused on fitness." "That's accurate." "Is that all it is?" I glanced at her briefly before returning my eyes to the road. "What else would it be?" She didn't answer. Week 5 brought escalation on both sides. I booked a hotel room for the weekend, told Melissa I needed focus time for a project deadline. "A whole weekend?" she asked, genuine distress in her voice. "It's important. Can't you work from home? I'll stay out of your way. I need a different environment. Too many distractions here." I watched her face process this. For the first time, I saw something like fear flash across her features. She tried everything that week. Cooked my favorite meals without being asked. Suggested activities we hadn't done in months. Wore lingerie to bed. Each attempt was met with appreciation, but not enthusiasm. "Thanks, this is really nice," I'd say, then return to whatever I was doing. The absence of pursuit was louder than any accusation could have been. Meanwhile, I'd accepted the new job, gave my 2 weeks' notice, signed the contract, prepared for the transition. I didn't tell Melissa immediately. She found out through a mutual friend who'd seen my LinkedIn update. "You got a new job?" she asked that evening, her voice tight. "When were you planning to tell me?" "When it was finalized." "Now it's finalized." "That's it. That's all you have to say?" I looked up from my laptop. "What would you like me to say?" "I don't know. Maybe discuss it with me first?" "We're married, Brian. These decisions affect both of us." "Do they?" The question hung between us. Her face went pale. "What does that mean?" "It means I'm handling my career. You've been handling yours." Seemed like the right approach. She opened her mouth, closed it, then walked away. I heard her on the phone minutes later, voice low and urgent. "Definitely Kim." I checked our phone records the next day. The calls to Kim had decreased by half. Interesting. Kim was losing her grip, and Melissa was caught between two narratives. Week 6 arrived with momentum I couldn't have anticipated. My first week at the new company exceeded all expectations. The team was sharp, the resources abundant, my ideas immediately valued. Senior leadership took notice, mentioned potential for rapid advancement. I started looking at apartments, not because I planned to move out, but because I wanted the option visible. I left a calendar reminder for an apartment viewing, knowing Melissa would see it on our shared calendar. She confronted me that evening. "You're looking at apartments?" "Exploring options." "Options? What options? Are you leaving?" I set down my book. "That's an interesting question." "Answer it." "The real question isn't whether I'm leaving. It's whether you've already left." I pulled out my phone, opened the photo of her list, and held it up so she could see. The color drained from her face. Complete shock, then recognition, then something close to panic. "How long have you known?" She whispered. "Long enough. Brian, we'll talk about this properly. Soon. When I'm ready." I stood and walked to the bedroom, leaving her frozen in the living room. I heard her crying later, but the sound didn't move me the way it might have weeks ago. These weren't tears of regret. These were tears of consequences. On Thursday, I scheduled the real conversation. Friday evening, 7 p.m. Living room. "We need to talk." The 3 days before Friday were torture for her. I could tell. She texted constantly, trying to initiate the conversation early. I responded minimally. She watched me pack for the gym, followed me from room to room, seeking any opening for dialogue. "Why can't we just talk now?" she asked Wednesday evening. "Because I said Friday." That's not fair. Neither was building a case to leave me without a conversation. But here we are. Friday arrived. I spent the day at the gym, then at a coffee shop organizing my thoughts on my laptop. At 6:45, I returned home with my laptop bag. Melissa was already positioned on the couch, looking like she'd been there for hours. I sat in the chair across from her, not next to her. Placed my phone on the coffee table between us, the photo of her list already pulled up on the screen. "When were you planning to present this to me?" I asked, my voice even. She swallowed hard. "It wasn't meant for you to see. It was just me processing thoughts with Kim. 15 numbered reasons why I'm inadequate. That's not processing. That's building a legal case." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Walk me through your thought process." She fumbled for words. Kim encouraged me to journal my feelings. Some of the points were things she observed, not even my own thoughts. I never actually believed all of it. I was just frustrated sometimes. I pulled out my laptop from my bag, opened a spreadsheet I'd prepared. "Let's review your points." Number 1, emotional distance. I turned the screen toward her. In the past 3 months, I initiated 87% of meaningful conversations. You ended 73% of them early. I tracked it. Her mouth fell open slightly. Number 5, career stagnation. I produced the offer letter for my new job. 40% salary increase, equity package, started this week. 3 other companies also made offers. I went through each point methodically. Financial comfort versus ambition. I showed her my investment portfolio, the new accounts, the strategic planning. Boring routine? I pulled up the calendar showing the 4 date nights I'd planned that she'd canceled or forgotten. Doesn't challenge her intellectually? I referenced the book recommendations she'd ignored, the conversations she'd cut short. With each rebuttal, her defense crumbled further. "Okay," she finally said, her voice small. "But some of this was true. You did get comfortable." Comfortable and complacent aren't the same thing. I was building. You were critiquing. Then I pulled out my phone again, opened the folder Todd had helped me compile. Photos of Kim with Gerald Patterson at restaurants. The same man leaving Kim's apartment building. Screenshots of text messages Kim had sent Melissa that I'd glimpsed over her shoulder. "Men are replaceable. You deserve excitement. Your primary advisor," I said, "is actively destroying someone else's marriage while pretending to save yours." Melissa stared at the photos. "I didn't know about him." "You didn't want to know. Easier to swallow poison when it tastes like empowerment." "I made a mistake," she said, tears starting. "I see that now." Kim was filling my head with. "Kim didn't make you open a secret bank account." I showed her the statements. "Kim didn't make you search for apartments." I showed her the browser history. "Kim didn't write this list." "You did." She was crying openly now. "What do you want from me? An apology?" "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "I don't want an apology. Apologies are words. I want understanding." "Understanding of what?" "Of what you almost threw away." I stood, walked to the window, then turned back to face her. "You wrote 15 points on why you should leave. I listened to every single one." She looked up at me, mascara streaking her cheeks. "Please don't. I only need 1 point to respond with. Just 1. The room went silent except for her ragged breathing. "What point?" she whispered. I walked back, stood in front of her, made sure she was looking directly at me. "The man you described in that list doesn't exist anymore. If he ever did, it was because I was too focused on us to notice you'd already checked out. But the man standing here now? He doesn't need you to stay. He's built a life that works with or without you in it. New career, new income, new confidence, new options. The only question that matters is whether you can afford to lose him. Because I already know I can afford to lose you." The words landed like physical blows. She sat completely still, processing. "That's not fair," she finally said. "Fair? You documented my inadequacies for weeks, planned your exit in secret, and now you object to clarity? So what, you're leaving? After everything?" "I didn't say that. I said you need to understand what's at stake." She reached for my hand. I let her take it briefly, then pulled away and headed toward the bedroom. "Where are you going?" "To pack. I'm staying at the Langham for the next week." "A week?" "No, Brian, please don't leave. I kept packing, placing clothes methodically into my bag. You need time without me to understand what having me actually means. I already know. I stopped, looked at her directly. No. You know what losing me feels like. There's a difference. This is cruel. Is it? You could document 15 reasons to leave without telling me. I think we both have agency here. She stood in the doorway, blocking my path. I love you. Love without respect is just attachment. I moved past her gently but firmly. 7 days. 7 days for what? To figure out one genuine reason why rebuilding makes sense. Not based on fear or comfort. One real reason. If you can't provide that, we begin separation proceedings. I headed for the door. She followed, desperation clear in every movement. What if I can't think of a reason? I paused at the threshold. Then you'll have your answer about whether you should leave. Wait. Her voice broke. What's your reason for staying? I looked back at her one last time. If I have to tell you, you haven't been paying attention. The door closed behind me with a soft click. The suite at the Langham was quiet. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Chicago River, the city lights reflecting off the dark water. I set my bag down, ordered room service, and opened my laptop. My phone showed 14 text messages from Melissa. I read them once, then put the phone on silent. The messages progressed from angry to confused to apologetic to reflective. I didn't respond to any of them. The next morning, I worked out in the hotel gym, then spent the day preparing for my new role. The work was challenging, engaging, exactly what I needed to keep my mind focused forward rather than backward. Todd texted around lunch. Claire told me Melissa called her in tears. You doing okay? Better than I've been in months, I replied. That evening, I had dinner with Todd and Claire at their place in Bucktown. Claire studied me across the table. Melissa's devastated, she said carefully. What happened? She's processing some truths she needed to face. She said you're staying in a hotel for a week. That's accurate. Todd put a hand on his wife's arm. Claire, let him handle it his way. I just want to make sure both of them are okay. I set down my fork. I appreciate your concern. But this is between Melissa and me. She made choices. Now she's living with the consequences. Claire nodded slowly. Fair enough. By day 5, Melissa's texts had become less frequent but more substantive. One message caught my attention. I ended my friendship with Kim. Found out everything you said was true. She destroyed that man's marriage and was working on mine. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. Another message, later that day. I've been thinking about what I actually want versus what I thought I wanted. The difference is clearer now. I still didn't respond. The silence was crucial. Any communication would dilute the impact, give her emotional ammunition to avoid the real work of self-examination. On day 7, a text came through in the morning. I'm ready to meet. Our home, tonight at 7? I'll have my answer. I replied with 3 words. See you then. The apartment felt different when I walked in that evening, my laptop bag slung over my shoulder. Cleaner, somehow. Not just physically, but energetically. Melissa sat on the couch in jeans and a simple sweater. No makeup, no tactical presentation. A single folder lay on the coffee table in front of her. I sat in the same chair as before. You have something to tell me. She nodded, picked up the folder. I have one reason. Like you asked. I'm listening. She took a breath, steadying herself. I spent this week thinking about why I should stay, not why you should keep me. I realize now those are different questions. She opened the folder. Inside was a handwritten letter, not typed. Her actual handwriting, not polished and perfect but raw. My one reason isn't that I love you, though I do. It isn't that I'm afraid of being alone, though that terrified me this week. It isn't even that I made a mistake, though I clearly did. She paused, gathering courage. My one reason is this. I finally understand what I took for granted. Not just you as a partner, but as a person. You spent years building a foundation while I critiqued the wallpaper. You invested in us while I shopped for alternatives. When I created that list, I was describing my own failures and projecting them onto you. I kept my expression neutral. That's an explanation, not a reason. You're right. She set the letter down. My reason is that I'm capable of becoming someone worthy of what you've built. Not the person I was, who listened to toxic advice and kept one foot out the door, but someone who matches your effort, your clarity, your self-respect. I can't promise I'm that person today, but I'm asking for the chance to prove I can become her. The silence stretched between us. I let it sit, let her feel the weight of it. That's the first honest thing you've said in months, I finally replied. I know. Why should I believe you'll follow through? She pulled out her phone, showed me her blocked contacts list. Kim was at the top, along with 2 other friends she'd mentioned as part of Kim's circle. Then she handed me another document from the folder. I wrote my own terms, she said. What I'm committing to. Individual therapy, starting next week. Complete financial transparency, everything visible. Active contribution to our relationship, not just maintenance mode. I'm not asking for things to go back to normal. I'm asking to build something better. I reviewed the document. It was thorough, specific, no vague promises or emotional appeals. Action items with timelines. I'm not operating on promises anymore, I said. Only demonstrated action. I understand. I'll move back home. But we're starting from a new foundation. What does that mean? I set my bag down and pulled out my laptop, opened a document I'd prepared. These are my requirements. I walked her through each point. Complete transparency in all communications and finances. Active partnership with equal initiation of connection. Individual growth for both of us, separately and together. Zero tolerance for old patterns. Quarterly reviews of our relationship health. She listened without interrupting, nodding at each point. I want to add something, she said when I finished. Go ahead. Accountability. I track my own contributions, don't expect credit or gold stars. And I've already scheduled therapy, both individual and couples. And I'm auditing all my friendships. Only relationships that support our marriage, not undermine it. I closed my laptop. There's one more thing. What? You kept the list in your desk. Do you still have it? She went to the office, returned with the folder. Do you want it? No. I want you to burn it. Tonight. And I'll watch. We stood together at the fireplace. She placed the list in the flames, watched it curl and blacken and disappear. I handed her the documents from Raymond Walsh, the separation papers he'd prepared and sent to me, but that I'd never filed. These too, I said. She took them, hands trembling slightly, and added them to the fire. We watched together as both our exit plans turned to ash. I don't deserve this chance, she said quietly. Maybe not. But relationships aren't about deserving. They're about choosing. I'm choosing to let you prove yourself. Thank you. I turned to face her. Don't thank me. Show me. 6 months passed. Not quickly, not easily, but progressively. I thrived at the new company, earning a promotion to director within 4 months. Melissa launched her own consulting firm, finally stepping away from the agency politics that had fed her discontent. She built something herself, on her own terms. Our relationship rebuilt slowly. Weekly date nights, planned equally between us. Saturday morning gym sessions together, me lifting while she did yoga in the same space. Our laptops sat open side by side on the dining table some evenings, both of us working but together. The quarterly check-ins became essential. Honest assessments of what was working, what needed attention, what we each needed from the other. No list building, no resentment stockpiling. Direct communication or the issue didn't exist. We made new couple friends, people who supported healthy dynamics rather than feeding discontent. Todd and Claire became our closest allies. The toxic influences were gone, replaced with people who challenged us to be better together. One Saturday morning, I found Melissa in the office reorganizing her desk. The drawer where she'd kept the list now held a photo album. The label read "Building Together." She saw me notice it. First photo is from the river walk. 2 weeks after you moved back. I looked at the image. Both of us by the river, genuine smiles, the city behind us. Her handwriting underneath, started over. Worth it? Is it? I asked. Worth it? She looked up at me, and her eyes were clear. Every day I choose it, yes. Are you still choosing it? Every day so far. That evening, we sat on the couch watching the sunset through our windows. Her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She showed me the screen immediately. Do you know this number? I glanced at it. Nope. She blocked it without opening the message, set the phone down, and returned her attention to the window. Only direction we look is forward, she said. I nodded. Forward. People sometimes ask if I trust her completely now. The honest answer? Trust isn't binary. It's built daily through choices. She chooses differently now. So do I. We're not the couple who almost divorced. We're the couple who learned what almost losing everything actually teaches. That's worth more than any list. 15 points or 1. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.